So tell us about Lerato. Who is Lerato Sithole?
Today, at least I'll tell the story with Mama Lerato sitting right here.
Please stand up, Mom. Let's see you. Let's see you.
So I was born in Malahleni. And, they say, there are mysteries of, whether children are meant to be born at a certain time, in wedlock, out of wedlock, on the side of the wedlock. I was, I was definitely not in the right side of the wedlock, thanks to Mom and Dad. But I don't think they did a bad job. I think God did a reset button there, which is good. And then, in those days, my mom had to go and study, and then my aunt needed to raise me. And I've got my sisters that actually raised me. They are here. Here they are.
Look at how beautiful they are.
So they took care of me while Mom was studying, and through what she did, she actually just gave me the best of whatever she could afford. Whatever we could be able to buy and whatever she could afford, she gave me. I got the toys that she could afford. I got a talking doll, a working fridge, something like that. So she did what was available and what she could. And I grew up. I can't remember a lot of things, but it was a happy childhood. Except that, when you're not with your mom and dad, there's something that is missing. There are circumstances that allow that, but there's a peace. So just for those that are with mom and dad all the time, there's something they get that I didn't get. I look at my daughter, how she relates to her father. I'm like, I didn't have that, but it's okay, because that is what shaped me. That is what built me. That is what pushed me forward. And later on, I was the only child for a long time. Later on, I had my sister. My baby sister is sitting right here. My mommy's sister. My mommy's daughter. Sorry. And then I don't know if my brother is here, but so we are three children. And grew up at the age of 19, going to 20. I got married, so
yes.
So
to Jobe himself. Let him stand up. Let him see.
To Jobe himself. And the people that were responsible for us to get married, telling us, God said, are the two men sitting right over there. There they are. They must just raise their hands.
Well,
that was 33 years ago.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So studied, and since I got married very young, I only had matric. My mom got me to choose marriage or school. I chose, obviously. You can see that's why I'm here. And then, and I saw my mother studying, long distance, and I thought I can do this. So I also did that. It took me 8 years to get my degree, because in between I was getting other degrees.
Yes, we know which ones. The talking degrees.
Yeah, the talking degrees. So, and I did that very well. Like a full hand. I finished my degree. I can't do MBA. This is my
the school of life.
Yeah. But God has been very good in my life, and through hardships and adversities as well, God has really shown himself to be great. My husband used to say I'm going to be a director even before I could believe it. He's like my cheerleader, my best friend, always been there. My Solomon, he's the wisest man that I have in my life. His name is Solomon, so that befits.
Same as my dad. I didn't know, because I call you Jobe all the time.
Jobe.
Yeah.
For those that are online, I love him with all my heart, with every fiber in myself. So, he's been a good father, a good husband, a good friend, a good confidant, and all of that. So, but, and I went through my career. I'll never stop, Rachel. You did say I talk too much, but you asked me a question.
No, I'm happy for you to, me. I like things that just flow authentically, right?
Right.
So then after you got your matric, you got married, then the children came, and then you looked at your life and said what?
So in fact, after getting married, and then first 3 years I couldn't continue with my studies. The finances were not there, and I remember I was working for a company that didn't pay for further studies in those days. And then I said with my mouth that I want to work for Eskom because I want to study, to get a company that will pay for my studies. And I don't know. Then I worked for Eskom. So, and I now look back, actually, everything I say actually happens, because even when we were still playing house, I would say, I'm going to get married when I'm 19. I didn't know what 19 meant, but I did get married when I got married 3 months before I turned 20. So I do remember my mom asking about this guy that I'm getting married to. I had no answers. Like, how old is he? I'm like, I don't know, Mom.
I'm sure you didn't know.
Where does it, like, he's like, at the end, my mom said, does he even have eyes? Because at this point, you are not sure about anything. I said, at least that I'm sure of, right? But my husband is my mother's firstborn son. She couldn't have had a better son. So that turned out to be very well. And yeah, then I started my career at Eskom and grew. God, I worked for so many companies. I've worked for Eskom, IDC, Alexander Forbes. I can't even remember the others. IDC, yeah, I did say IDC.
You did.
Marion Roberts, Blue IQ, and all my friends from those companies are here in different versions. And yeah, then I don't know where to stop, because then I'm scared I'm going to say a lot.
No, you're still telling me about your career, so carry on.
Yeah, I think maybe to get to probably something that's got to do with why we are here today. In 2016, 17, I was here. I was a partner already here at Deloitte, doing very well, and I think that's when we met. That's when we met, because they said, you've got a thing, you must meet Lerato.
Yes, and so maybe let me tell that part of the story. So I was going for my partner assessment. So it's a very grueling process, for some that are aware. And I remember it was one of the directors here, Diane Schneider. She said to me, "Have you met Lerato Sithole?" And I'm like, "No, I've not met." She's like, you need to meet Lerato. I can see qualities in you that I see in her. Very militant and very focused and ambitious. So you definitely do need to speak to her, and she'll have lots, to say. And I think since then we've been inseparable.
Yeah. So, I mean, my career grew in different ways. There was a time I was very, very, very militant, especially when I was in Eskom. I mean, and this is 93, 94, you would understand what informed that, right? So I was fighting for everybody. So, and I was get promoted every year. And I think it was not really a promotion. It's just those people didn't want to work with me. So they would be like, I can't deal with her, so you take her. They send me to another one. That one says, I can't deal with her. Then they take me to another one, and I push. But there's an incident that I remember in 1994 after we voted. Then they said, oh, you can move to stay in the burbs, So yeah, we can now start doing the thing. And I was still with Eskom. So Eskom had free houses. And I went and asked and said, can I have can I also move? I mean, that lady said, ekvelni and exalni. So in English, like, it will never happen. I don't want it to happen. It will never happen. But hey, 3 months later, we had moved, right? I don't know how it happened, but, I was that, okay, she's calling for a war, so let's go for that. But, over the time, you get molded, you get shaped. And I started taking on the thing of, whatever I do, I need to bring somebody with. I need to make sure somebody succeeds through me. And that's why I was like, I was a spokesperson for everybody. I was like, do you have a problem? What's the problem? Then I'm like, we can't be doing reports anymore. So how many times are we going to be doing these reports? So yeah. And then came here. Deloitte has actually been the company that I worked the longest at. I actually worked for 11 companies in my life, all of them big ones. But I think with Deloitte, I've been here for a very long time. I left, I came back. And there's a lot of good that I experienced in this firm. So in 2016, at that peak time of my career, within myself, I felt very empty. So you're very, very successful, but you look into yourself, you're like, I am empty. And then I took a 3-month sabbatical, so good thing with this firm. I took a 3-month sabbatical. I switched off from everything. And then I had a vision of cleansing myself, detoxing spiritually, physically, and emotionally. And I did all of those. This is the time when my father died 1987, but in that time I had a conversation with my dad. And that conversation had good news, bad news, anger, happiness, but at the end we were okay with each other. And I realized that some of the success was me getting pushed by the anger, because my father was doing very well. He was and you'll hear the story. It's up there. So but I went through some of the things to say, how did it feel just, missing mom? I used to know how, and in fact I still do, how my mother's perfume smelled, because she worked very fast. She needed to go and work. So when she's gone, I would grab her clothes and smell it, because I would be missing her so much, and nobody knew, and I would cry. That's the sister of mine. There was my mama, so she always treated me like a little baby, and but those are the good things. Those are the good times. My aunt, who was Pastor Mamkulwami, wow, she raised us. She raised us very well. And
then maybe just playing back to, walking into the workplace. I would imagine you were about 20, right?
Yes.
That's also the same time that I walked into a workplace. I was 20 years old, right? So what did that feel like for you?
So
and maybe may I ask, were you a mom by that time? Not yet.
No. I was not a man. We took some time before we had Ulindo Guhle. I don't know where he's at. Yeah, I was not a mom, but so my first job was as a cleaner at a doctor's surgery. My mom found me the job. I don't know, maybe you were at the doctor's and they said they're looking for a cleaner. Anyway, because I only had matric, right? So I was a mop operator. I'm an operate person. I started, So I was a mop operator, but even there, I went an extra mile, right? And when you're mopping at the doctor's surgery, you're mopping all sorts of things, right? But I did that with all my heart. And the lady that was doing the registration, I would say, when you go to lunch, you teach me to do the registration. And she would teach me. She used to call me Popeye. So she's like, what's a Popeye? What's a Popeye? And then I would do the registration of 2 or 3 people. And I was earning 450 rands a month. That was a good thing. My husband was earning 300 every fortnight. So we kind of made do. We had accounted Russells to pay the bed and sales house to buy clothes now and again. So it was 50 rands a month. So that was quite fun. We didn't have children, so that was okay. 2.5 of milli meal was okay for enough. Us. Yeah. So then I got this job, and they said, "How much do you want to earn?" Remember, I'm earning 450. So I said, I was so ashamed. I thought I'm going to double it. I said, I would like to earn 800 rands. They looked at each other, they laughed. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not going to get this job. And then they said, no, you're actually going to pay you 2,000. I was like, oh, what? Oh my God, what am I going to do with so much money?
Imagine.
So that was that. But so if I look back, in every role that I played in my career, I had this one thing: go an extra mile. Go an extra mile. Even now, I think, you give me one little thing, I like
blow it up.
I blow it up, and sometimes I'm like, why did I everybody why did I do it this? But that going an extra mile. But at the time when we started to work, and again the experience through being at Eskom. At Eskom was tough, right? Everything was done in Afrikaans. Meetings were done in Afrikaans. So everyone would I won't do it in Afrikaans. My cousin is here. We both worked at Eskom. Now I would okay, so they're doing it. I'm going to learn Afrikaans. So now I can speak Afrikaans. I can Afrikaans praat.
Work.
Because I thought, if I want to get in, let me just push through. So I push through, and you say 2-3 sentences, it bails you out of a lot of things.
And you make a lot of friends.
Absolutely, they're like, you're Ratoki, and you go far.
Absolutely. I was called Rachelki, so yes, it does work.
It does work.
So fast forward, the children then come. What was that experience like? Motherhood.
Motherhood, yeah, we took time. Ulindo Kuhle, the name. So I think now we want a baby now, I remember a friend of ours, so we got married the same 1991. So yeah, so they had their baby, they were good. They got there very quick. And they're like, Stole, kwenza njani bhuti? I can't translate it, but it's like,
I'll translate.
it's like
what's going on, my brother? What's
it's
going
like,
on?
Why are we not scoring the goal? Hey, and I'm starting to be worried now, like what's happening? But we prayed, we waited. So hence his name is Ulindo Kuhle, Ulindo Kuhle. There he is. Yeah,
The one patiently waited for, the beautiful one.
Yeah, so
Patiently waited for,
we
yes.
were waiting for him, and then he came, and then they came, right? Oh, then they
The floodgates.
like the floodgates started, and I'm a supply chain person. I mean, that thing started. That machine started working, and you're like, how did we get here? I remember. So then we had 3. And then we're pregnant again, and now we can have a conversation with them, and we're like, oh, we're gonna have another baby, and they're like, oh, another one, and there's 3 of them, like another one. We're like, yeah, and then we go to the doctor, and we come back, it's like 2, and they're like, "Ay, mama, no."
Twins.
But that was 3 plus 2
Twins.
equal to 5. Yes,
Wow.
the twins. She's the twin baby. I don't know where their brother is.
I'm sure he's somewhere
here.
there. Of course, at the back.
there.
Yes.
Right. And then we had Itatoya Mudimu. He's somewhere. Yeah. And we had Kensile. So we were blessed with 4 boys and our little princess here. Yeah. Then motherhood came. And I know, but so I started my degree when Ulindo when Tato had just been born, because between Tato and there's 2 years, so you can -9. There's a bit of a thing there, a very serious conveyor belt that is pushing very quickly, and I'm running out of time. So, but I am
watching this.
So we. That's when I started. I registered in 1995. Linda was born in 1994, and I started through UNISA. And by the time, I remember when I had the twins, they were born in February. I was writing my final paper of my junior degree in May. But I'll tell you how it worked. My friend here, my angel, he would say, just go study. I'll take care of the baby. He would be the one taking them to the clinic. So I can never thank God enough for blessing me.
So maybe on that point, how important, is it, for us women to have that kind of, support, is particularly in an era where so much is happening. Yeah. And I mean, we can see a lot of women are oftentimes, pulling on their own and having to juggle all sorts of things. But how important is partnership?
Yeah.
In making sure that you are the best mom you can be and the best version of yourself.
So I'll actually answer that, also appreciating that our situations are not the same, right? Not everybody's got a Solomon, and sometimes it's not their doing, it's not their choice and all of that, but there's always some form of support structure. So sometimes you've got your aunt, you've got your sister, you've got a support structure. So use that with love, and just embrace it and get that support in whatever situation that you are faced with, because there's no one formula that works. But the formula of having a community that supports you. Sometimes it's not even your family. It's the next door sister. It's the sister that you never had, I mean, if I look at Tusisi and our sisters, they are sisters that I never had, but they are my sisters. And you know that when you say, hey, Sisi, Gyapeta nawe, like I know I've got you, my person. So that community, and in this book of Think and Grow, which is called Mastermind, we were not meant to survive all by ourselves. And I've learned to appreciate even the person that gave me an idea, not to say, not only those that gave you something, but just those that gave, even when you open the radio and you hear something and it gives you hope, thank God for that presenter, because they taking you to another level, they're giving you a hope of life.
So segueing then into Think and Grow Rich, tell us about that.
So
and how you actually
yeah.
got to be Nyagwazi. When I know you landing up in Hollywood doing a movie, I asked you, how did you get there? How?
We have only 5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so
Wrap it up in 5 minutes.
I'll do it very quickly. So that time when I took that sabbatical, that's when I put my hand on Think and Grow Rich, the book by Napoleon Hill. I have this thing, and it's been following me all my life. Whatever I say with my mouth, it happens, right? So I said to God, you will give me the material that I need for what I need. And when I Google, I get the angels to Google first, and then I get whatever is required. I land on the right things, right? So I landed on this book. I read the first chapter. I was like, oh my gosh. Then I read the other chapter. I was like, and what's amazing about it is that it's got so much of godly principles. It's got principles that my aunt taught me, my mom told me, our elders, my grandmother, it's got those principles. So I was reading the book since that time until now. I've never put my hand down. And then my children, I taught them they needed to read, give me review of a chapter before they get their allowance. So so that's how it was. And it was a book. It's a book that has 13 principles of life that shape you in life. So when you think riches, it's not only finance riches, but it doesn't exclude finances. Yeah. So it doesn't don't embrace poverty and
no.
So it doesn't exclude finances, but it's not only finances. It's riches in your family, riches in a whole lot of things. So and then Scott did a movie of the Think and Grow Rich, the movie, and I didn't know it was Scott. I just watched the movie because I'm part of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Looked at the movie, loved it, and then when we were in lockdown, they said, "Hey, anybody who wants to write a story about them being a mom, and having used those principles." And I wrote my story only because we were on lockdown, and it made me to think about something else because lockdown was lockdown,
was
right?
Difficult,
so I then wrote the story, and they're like, "We like your story, but we've got thousands." Then they shortlisted, and then I ended up in the top 12 of that story, and I ended up in Moms Rising. And when I met Scott the first day, I taught him how to say Amandla. We've got the picture. Yeah. I was in Hollywood and for the shoot, and I said, "Hey Scott, let me teach you how we say it in Africa, Amandla." But I then asked him, I said, "Is it possible that we can do this in an African context?" And he said, "We'll think about it. That's very interesting." And you'll meet Scott. That's how he responds. Like, "That's a very interesting point." So he said that. But a year later, after we've spoken, maybe 18 months later, he called me and he said, "Are you serious about that?" I said, "Yes." And he assisted me with all the negotiations, and I was given the license to do Think and Grow Rich in Africa.
Congratulations. And then what next?
Wow.
What next with this venture?
So the Think and Grow Rich Africa is a transformational development organization. So it is actually to make Africans to think and grow and become rich. Our diamonds, our gold, we can't get it back. It's been taken. In fact, it's not even in the ground anymore, right? But what we've got as Africans, as a treasure, is what we've got up here. You can think your way out of a situation. Thoughts are things.
Yes.
God said, "As a man thinketh,
so shall he be."
So is he. You get transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's what Think and Grow. It's a transformational. So you get in touch with Think and Grow Rich Africa as an African, because it's for Africans by Africans. So we're going to make movies. Lots. Scott, we're going to make lots of movies. Yeah. We're going to make lots of movies by Africans for Africans.